Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about raising the bar in IT customer support. We're going to talk about how recent improvements in tools you can use for your help desk can really make an impact as to how you treat your customers. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy. I'm a Vice President at ARG, and while I work for ARG, this video is my own and not necessarily a reflection of the views or opinions of my employer. This channel is all about helping IT leaders make great business decisions. And what better decision can you make than find an opportunity to help serve your end users better? And I'd say that we can start by looking at how you manage your help desk. Digital enhancements to contact center have really raised the impact that you can make in serving your customers, even if you have a very small help desk. It can improve the timeliness of your response, getting to cases quicker, the effectiveness of those responses, resolving those cases more appropriately, and increasing the personalization and the interaction that your team has with the end users when it matters. Just like the whole organization wants to delight their external customers, the people who buy the products and services of your organization, IT needs to find ways of delighting their customers and their clients by delighting them in their experiences and interactions. So having a contact center can really go a long way towards elevating the satisfaction that your clients have with the interaction in your team. So if you're interested in deploying a contact center but haven't really thought through it yet, here are a couple quick tips. First of all, pricing for contact center services has come way down. If you're familiar with pricing out a contact center in the old days of a premise-based PBX, and it was a $30,000 module that you had to add and would give you so many seats and so forth for that $30,000, and there was no way you could ever cost justify that investment. Contact center as a service, CCaaS, has really changed the economics, allowing even the smallest IT organizations to afford a contact center for just 2 or 3 agents. We're literally talking about $100 approximately for a very small organization per contact center agent per month to stand up a fully functioning multi-channel contact center. So if you're interested in deploying a contact center as a service to help improve the visibility and the reputation of your organization within the company, let's take a look at some quick areas where you can focus. First thing you want to do is to sketch out your requirements. You're going to want to understand what channels you want to support. And these aren't the channels that you currently support. And by channels, I mean, how do you want to receive incoming service requests? Over what media? So a typical channel for an IT help desk would be voice, would be email. But do you also want to accept chat, text, or video calls? All of these need to be accommodated. Even if you're not supporting it today within your IT help desk, you want to make sure all of these channels, we call it an omni-channel contact center, can support all of these different ways of clients reaching you, customers reaching you to help you resolve their problems. Then we want to take a look at what skills you're going to build within the contact center. I suggest starting small. You don't want to necessarily manage all of your queues in a brand new contact center. Start with a few queues, a few channels, a few help requests, types, and build from there once you understand what your requirements are. But you are going to want to understand what skills ultimately you want to have within that contact center environment so you can understand how those skills will be identified and calls and cases will be routed to the appropriate skill set within the contact center. Next, identify the service levels that you're looking for, and those might include what type of response time do you want to have, what time to resolution are you targeting, what experience, and how will you manage that experience or measure that experience. Now we're going to want to identify repetitive cases. These are self-service opportunities or opportunities for an auto response or enhanced response that will really reduce the amount of time and investment that you make in each one of these repetitive cases. So let's take, for example, a password reset. I know we're all getting away from passwords eventually, but it's probably still a pretty good volume in most help desk environments these days. If you could automate the password reset function or provide an auto response to help the person at least tee up, get to the right spot within their application and so forth to reset that password before they actually enter into a live help environment, or even give the agents an enhanced coaching or enhanced toolkit once they are talking to a client that prompts them with specific scripts based upon the conversation without the contact center agent actually having to select anything themselves. These are all opportunities for efficiency, and you're actually going to drive so much efficiency, I guarantee you're going to pay for the $100 or so a month per seat that this contact center will cost the organization. You'll be driving a positive ROI, not only a financial ROI, but an experience ROI for your organization. Understand what applications you want to integrate. You probably want to integrate your ticketing system, but what other applications might be useful? And make sure that those applications are spelled out and you understand what the API opportunities are. Most off-the-shelf applications have great API capabilities today, so it's usually not an issue, but you want to make sure and spell those out individually, so when you go off and shop for platforms, you can help guide the vendor and make sure they understand your requirements. And then lastly, how will you measure? We're going to talk about measurement in just a moment, but if you're going to deploy a fully functioning contact center as a service, you're going to get most of the bang for the buck by measuring and improving consistently over time. Once you have a clear understanding what your requirements are, now it gets exciting. Now you get to go out and start sampling product. Now I'm going to caution you, there are a lot of contact center as a service platforms out there. My firm represents well over a dozen, probably closer to 20 individual contact center as a service platforms. So trying to evaluate this on your own may take some time. So I would recommend find a consultant that understands this business and has multiple options, not just one consultant who represents maybe 2 or 3. That's not going to do your requirements justice. So you're going to look at lots of platforms. Hopefully you can narrow it down to a short list relatively quickly. One of the interesting things I would advise is make sure that the platform provider has an option for either a named user licensing model or a concurrent user licensing model. So in a named user licensing model, you're going to give each one of your contact center or help desk agents an individual license. No one else will access that license, and all of the information will be recorded under that persona, that individual's license. The other model, the concurrent user model, allows anyone to use a concurrent license. There are registered users. They would log into that license and perform their duties and then log out, and then someone else would step in to use that license at maybe at a later point in time. Managing the record keeping for the concurrent licensing user is certainly doable, but you want to make sure that the CCaaS provider has that nailed down, and there can be huge cost differences. So on the concurrent user model, expect to pay as much as 50 to 100% more per license than you would in the named user, because they're going to sell you fewer licenses because it's a shared environment. Essentially, they're going to make their money one way or the other. But I will say there's usually a pretty good economic break one way or the other, depending upon how densely your help desk is staffed, or if it has certain peak times that you have to budget towards. One model will make more sense to you than the other. We mentioned application integrations. This is the time that you want to make sure early on that all of your applications can integrate into the contact center as you require. We want to make sure that the interface is very intuitive to build, because we're not going to build out, at least my recommendation would be not to build out your entire help desk environment at launch of your contact center. I would recommend an incremental build process, especially if you don't have a contact center right now supporting your help desk. An incremental build process where you're adding capabilities over time is a lot more intuitive and an intelligent way to approach this, rather than trying to slam a new process on top of an agent community or help desk community when you may not know all of the nuances and all of the ways that the different ways that the agents will use the platform. So make sure that it's intuitive, make sure that it's flexible, and build over time rather than trying to build everything all at once. AI capabilities are very popular in the contact center space. So things like keyword screen pops. If a caller, for example, mentions a keyword, you can get a prompt on a screen to help that contact center or the help desk agent satisfy that request. These AI platforms can do sentiment analysis. They can automatically sense when someone is frustrated or happy or mad, and those calls can be managed differently with additional coaching automatically presented on the screen, or maybe routing that interaction to a more senior, more tenured individual. And then lastly, it's the contact or case distribution. Almost all CCaaS providers of any note have skills-based routing, right? So you want to be able to identify the skills of your team and have the calls routed appropriately based upon some input that the client or customer has provided you at the beginning of the interaction. But make sure that that's taken to another level. There are some levels of workforce management to make sure that you know when people are coming and going off of their shifts and managing breaks and so forth. That can really be beneficial and help you create a superior experience for your end users. And also make sure that one particular agent or a few agents are not being overworked and overwhelmed with cases while others are not receiving their allotted share. Before you buy, you need to test. Try to get a proof of concept test from the provider. Now, sometimes some of these contact centers, especially for help desk environments, are very small. Providers may not be willing to make the investment in a proof of concept for your particular requirement. If that's the case, make sure that you get a complete demo of the capabilities that you're looking for. Build it. When you're building a contact center, we want, in my view, to have a minimal viable product that you launch first. Make it easy, make it useful, but don't try to cram all the functionality that you think you're ultimately going to want in your first launch, because then it will become overbearing and people will gravitate away from it because they don't know how to do something and it's more expedient to do it some other way. And also don't provide them an avenue to do anything any other way. If it's a capability within the contact center, that's the way they do it. And they're not permitted to do it outside of the contact center, and that's the way they will build comfort and usability within the new application. Test with actual users. Don't just have a Tiger team, for example, who's pulling this together and doing everything and doing the testing on their own. You have to bring in fresh people with fresh perspectives to take a look and test the platform. They won't like it at first. No one likes change, but understand what criticisms they have, and are they valid, or are they simply adaptability issues or adaptive issues that will decline over time. And then train the heck out of it. Training is critical when you're launching a new contact center. People are changing the way that they do work, and because it's a minimally viable product, they'll be moving from within the contact center to outside the contact center based upon different scenarios. So they need to understand how to manage those transitions, and through those transitions and through those conversations and those observations, you'll get a better sense of what you need to develop next. Now lastly, we have performance. In order to get the biggest bang for your buck out of this contact center for your help desk, managing and monitoring performance is going to be critical. That's how you'll, again, achieve that ROI that we talked about at the beginning of this video. You're going to want to measure competency, customer experience, attitude, and their ability to solve problems within this new environment. If you can do that, you will achieve higher customer satisfaction, higher employee help desk satisfaction, and increase the stature of IT within the organization. So I hope that was helpful. I hope we took away some of maybe the intimidation factor of looking at a contact center as a service for an IT help desk. Believe me, we've looked at a lot of organizations that have done this. It works very well. It's not as hard as it has been in the past. I'm not going to say it's an easy lift, but it has become much easier over time with these new platforms that are now available. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to continue this conversation, my contact information is in the description of the video. Be happy to continue the conversation, or if you're interested in any of the 15 or so products that we have in our portfolio, happy to guide you through that as well. If you got some value out of this video, I'd appreciate a like, a thumbs up, and thank you very much for doing that in advance. That helps other people see my content. And if you want to come back to this channel in the future, the easiest way of doing that is just hitting that subscribe button. That'll put my videos in your feed and you can come back at your convenience. Again, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.